Why it matters that Federated Church of Sycamore exists. I retired and moved to Sycamore from St. Paul, Minnesota about 15 months ago. I don't necessarily recommend retiring and then moving the very next day. Why Sycamore? It was closer to the Chicago kids, but far enough away that we couldn't casually stop by. It also met the two requirements: a lap pool for me and a comic book store for my husband. I've been a competitive swimmer since age 10 and still compete. Swimming is also my quiet time, my thinking time, etc. In addition, I wanted to live in community with others. I knew that Sycamore leaned towards being conservative, but I didn't care. It's where I wanted to move to. Growing up, I chose to live in a non-verbal world. It was way easier and emotionally safer than speaking. I would often have to repeat myself at least 3 times, and the listeners still would not understand the words I said. I didn't have a way to make them understand me. I hate having to repeat myself. It took extra energy for me to speak. I had to think about how to form the words in addition to what I wanted to say. Yes, there were some people that I felt comfortable speaking with. I was born with a short, soft palate, which affected the clarity of my speech. It probably wasn't diagnosed until I was 5 years old or so. They decided not to do the surgery over concern for scar tissue. My parents were very involved with church. Dad was an elder at various times. Dad was 6'7", thus he stood out, and everyone in church knew our family. It felt like half the Presbyterian church that we were attending in De Pere, Wisconsin, near Green Bay, accepted me, and the other half didn't. In junior high, I went to a summer Presbyterian church camp for a week. One of the counselors actually took the time to talk with me one-on-one about God. She said that God is all around us, including, but not limited to, the trees, plants, animals, water, etc. She named what I had experienced my whole life, just didn't know how to name it and talk about it. I was all surprised that she took the time and talked with me. That just didn't happen in my life. It left a bit impacted me. In 8th grade, the church was between pastors. Church decided that it would still have a confirmation class, and one of the elders taught it. We learned about Presbyterian church government and did not have to write a statement of faith. That was a good thing. I would have had to lie because I just wasn't sure what I believed. The Thursday before confirmation, we had an opportunity to meet with a random elder one-on-one to see if we had any questions. I decided to speak up, take a huge risk, and say that I did not want to be confirmed. I had seen previous confirmations, and often those kids were never seen in church again. Thus, I created a ruckus. Eventually, parents and the church finally agreed that I did not need to be confirmed. However, someone was reproofing the Sunday bulletin and noticed that my name was not on the list of confirmands, and re-added my name at the bottom of the list. Don't remember what I found out, but I didn't have any fight left in me to protest. So I got confirmed after all. The guest preacher for the day taught about confirmation as the beginning and not the end of one's faith journey. That became very important for me. I continued to be involved in churches until my adult life. The spring, summer before I moved to Sycamore, I started looking for a church via the computer. I was surprised to find a Unitarian church in the middle of Sycamore, 5 minutes from where we live. The history of the church, with being actively involved in the Underground Railroad, got my attention. I listened to a few testimonials. How they impressed me was that all members were actively encouraged to speak during church and share their stories. Little did I know. For most in 2023, I was coming to Sycamore about once a month for a long weekend. I left early Sunday mornings before church. I was still working in St. Paul. One week I was in town on a Thursday and had some extra time. I called Pastor Eric and he had time to meet. We met at Starbucks, discussed my feminist theology, explored what newer liberal writers have to say about faith and spirituality. Thus my church looking ended. Again, my biggest challenge moving to Sycamore was to be out and about and speak with people. Unless I did that, no one would know that I existed. Jesus took risks, and risks with building new relationships, federated to the same thing with the Underground Railroad and other things. This church continues to be open to taking risks, with the most recent being willing to have faith discussions about Christian nationalism. Being able to ask questions regarding faith and current events and being welcomed are all part of this church. Often faith is hard to express with words. That's why there is art, music, movement, and storytelling. This church is willing to explore incorporating these things into worship and gatherings. After I moved to Sycamore, I walked into this church for the first time. It felt like home. The first Sunday that I was here, and the Sundays after that, Betty Johnson made sure that I had someone to sit with at the post-service fellowship. Book groups, ladies' night out, the group discussions after the post-service fellowship, etc., allowed opportunities to be with people, but I didn't have to talk if I didn't want to. I also discovered that fellowship is a big part of Life Federated. My personal hope this coming year is that I conquer my fear of the coffee machine and learn how to make coffee. My hope is that every Sunday there are angels that provide coffee and goodies for the post-service fellowship. Conversations are easier with something in your hand. Taking a bite or sip gives one time to just be and not have to converse. My dream is to have this church engage with youth and to have them experience the rich spirituality and Christian faith that helps shape and sustains me. There are many open spaces in this building and many exciting possibilities for how the spaces could be used. I encourage you to think how you and Federated Church in Sycamore can go forward with imagination, faith, and hope, and the resources to support those dreams. Thank you.